Hey everyone, did you know your shoes can affect your layback and velocity? So this is the case of a high school senior that gained 103 degrees of range of motion from before and after we did some activities. Now, one of the biggest reasons he gained range of motion was we took his shoes off so he can sense his heels better. He was wearing Boost shoes that were too squishy and too unstable in the back, and that was causing his back to tighten up. So, so if you look at the numbers on the before, this is his right shoulder external rotation was 145 degrees, flexion was 160, abduction horizontal, which is pec length, 25, internal rotation 60. Look at that layback. It went all the way to 180 degrees. Now we do that 30 degrees in front of the horizontal, which is where max layback happens around when you're pitching. Horizontal abduction gained 33 degrees. Those are the biggest changes. Now, if you start thinking about, I want my scapula to stay back, I want it to posteriorly rotate, separate, all of those things, the shoes you're wearing every day may matter. So here's the explanation. Here's the story first. So I saw him. He was wearing crummy shoes, Boost shoes again. Every brand has bad shoes. Just using Boost is my least favorite currently. Those shoes were causing him to drive his weight too far forward and pick his heel up too soon when he's walking because they don't have a stable heel counter. I'm going to actually add a link to this when it's on YouTube, my YouTube one, that shows the Hruska Clinic shoe list, so you can learn how to test your own shoes to see if they would be good for your arm and layback and pitching arm, okay? But what happens when you get your weight to move too far forward on the front of your feet, you can all try this while you're listening, it actually causes your pelvis to go forward and you to have to tighten your back. Now your back muscles go all the way up to your shoulder. Your lat muscle that you do pull-ups with, that's a back muscle. It goes from the front of your shoulder to your glute. So if you have a tight back, you have a tight lat. If your lat tightens, it internally rotates your arm and causes your scapula to move up and forward. So if my shoulder internally rotates and it has tension that way, I can't externally rotate. So in this case, we gained all this range of motion with the activities you see, posture restoration activities, okay? And I had to take his shoes off on the standing ones so that way he could feel his heels. Now, after he gained all this range of motion, I told him, that his shoes weren't good. He said, well, I just wear them at school. And I said, okay, well, let's see if they're affecting your arms. So I had him walk 30 yards down and back in those shoes, and he came back, and everything went back to the first before we did any activities, and he had to work hard on those activities. So now he's like, oh man, now I gotta work harder, right? But actually I said, hey, don't worry about it. Take your shoes back off. Feel your heels as you walk. Do the same 30 yards down and back. Comes back and he's back to all these positive numbers. Because initially he said, I just walk in these shoes at school. I said, well, every time you walk in those shoes at school, you're losing potential in your arm. And over time, instead of him being able to gain this much range, because that's just tension from a body that's out of balance, if he does that too long, then they'll actually become tight muscles and he won't be able to gain this back when he does these activities. He's a high school senior that throws 90 miles an hour. So now he's got potential to throw much higher. If all he does is change his shoes and improve his ability to breathe and use the correct muscles. So hopefully this is helpful to hear. Again, I'll link in the bio, on this, on my YouTube channel. I have this on all my social media, but on the YouTube channel that you'll find links to, you can go there, see the video. In the video description, I'll have a link to the Hruska Clinic shoe list, shows you how to test your shoes, gives you some options. And then if you have any questions, please reach out. If you want to be able to gain this much range of motion in your throwing arm so that you can throw the ball harder and faster, in Kansas City, this is what we do. We do integrative assessments physical therapy, strength conditioning, pitching coaching. We have chiropractic at our place now too. So reach out to us. Hopefully this is helpful.